Thanks a lot. So, what is Grundfos, first of all? I think that's where we should start. Grundfos is a manufacturing company dealing with pumps. We are one of the larger manufacturing companies building exactly pumps, providing water for people all around the world. We are roughly 20,000 employees at the moment, spawning more than 100 companies worldwide and selling 16 million pumps a year. This earns quite a bit of money, of course, and we try to organize around it. So from an organizational point of view, we are divided into 4 different divisions plus group functions. This gives us an immensely complex data landscape spawning hundreds of systems, more than most likely 1,000 or more data models. All of this data we want to use in collaboration. We want to make the data an asset for Grundfos, not just in one system, but across all of them. But before we dive too deep into what we're doing at Grundfos, I would actually like for all of you to stand up, because we are going to go through a small exercise. So, if the statement that I comes with now, and there will be a couple of statements, please sit down. So, you, at whatever company you're working at, have more than one data source. A lot of you sat down. That's nice. Actually, all of you. So for all of you, this talk is going to be relevant. Then we will skip the other questions. It was on the, are your data sources changing schemas and models? Do you face the challenge of having multiple people working on the same data model? And so forth. But we can skip ahead. That's nice. Gives us a bit more time. So in Grundfos, we're on our journey to build an enterprise data platform. The enterprise data platform should serve data for any use case. That could be advanced analytics, Gen AI, or providing data for system integration. And one of the key challenges there is that for us to build something that's robust to change, we can't go with our classical data models. They tend to be fit for specific operational purposes. That could be for reporting, for integration, or something similar. We have chosen to go with a route where we are building an ingestion layer, a data hub layer, and a data product layer. This gives us a bit of flexibility on how we are working with data, meaning that we can take in data as is from the source data models. We can remodel it on our data hub layer, and then we can provide it in whatever schema that we want on our data product layer. There's a bunch of other stuff up here, and questions to that is, of course, welcome at a later point, but it's not the focus of what we are talking about here and now. This is, of course, very broad statements of what you saw on the slide. Our ingestion layer is focusing on, like, how do we actually get the data out of the systems that we are working with? We are talking batch ingest, API ingests, streaming, file transfers, the whole thing. Because we need to be able to make data available from whatever system out there. Now, where the magic happens is on the data hub layer. This is where we standardize our data model, where we make the data integrated across systems and make it conform to certain rules and being available in a nice format that we can work with. And then from there, we go into the world of data mesh, building data products, which, again, is not really the focus of the talk, but a bit anyhow. So, again, small exercise. All of the people who have been working with Data Vault as a conceptual way of modeling, please stand up. That's more people than I expected, to be honest. That's nice. So then we can actually jump a bit ahead and talking a bit about Data Vault. And I am in no way an expert on it, from other point of view than from what it brings of value to the Grundfos. To make Data Vault a bit simple, you're dealing with hubs, satellites, and links. Hubs are like the core of what makes up business data. This is what makes data identifiable. It's your product numbers, it's whatever makes your customer unique, so forth. It's centered around your business concepts. And you actually, on a Data Vault journey, you tend to model that as their own objects. Next up, you have your satellites. Satellites is more like all of the information you gather across systems that you can tie to these specific business objects. it is a way of adding information to it without having it being something that needs to be uniform across systems. So you can have individual satellites for different source systems all working with the same business concept. This gives you a strength of abstraction. It makes it easy for you to extend upon it. And you still get this traceability across sources that if a source brings in a new instance of a customer, no matter where it comes from, we are looking for the exact same identifying criteria for what is a customer, and we are able to generate a key that we can tie customers together across sources. Lastly, we have links, and there are certainly more Data Vault objects, but I'll not go into those. So the links is the annotation of how is data belonging to one another across our business concepts. How can we actually say that this customer has bought this product at a certain point in time? And using some of the nice things from Data Vault, we can actually, again, tie systems together in a nice way. So these links can be generated based on input data from different systems all the time, and we can still keep track of where does this relation come from. In general, Data Vault is a way to make your data model business-centric and not system-centric. It gives you robustness through extension and handles the map across sources quite well. This is why Grundfos chose to go with the Data Vault 2.0 standard as our data hub layer standard model. Now, talking a bit into the notion of data products and data mesh, because that's what we layer on top of it. We are trying to structure our data products into being managed through certain data domains. We have chosen to go with the notion of similarity of data. There's a multitude of reasons for it, but the notion of using Data Vault as the underlying backbone for building the foundation for building our data products works quite well here, because the similarity of data, the structure around that, gives us that we can divide our Data Vault into smaller groups of people who are certainly experts on this specific data and have them model in a shared framework. How is this data linked together? Where does it belong to? What is it representing? What data is represented where? What is our source of truth on, let's say, products? Or what is the source of truth on our customers? And they can then build this shared foundation that we can build data products even outside these specialized teams and make data available much faster for Grundfos. And then on top of that, we layer our data products. Data products can, of course, follow the Data Vault 2.0 standard modeling framework in terms of their data model, but they can also be tailored towards specific systems or specific use cases where certain modeling paradigms are better off than others. That could be star schema or third normal form for reporting. We could generate JSON structures to send as messages to another system, expecting their updates of data to come in a message format. In order to do this, one of the greatest challenges with Data Vault is that there is a lot of manual labor if you want to do it in hand. You need to generate hash keys. You need to have a well-structured way of defining what is hub. And all of that can be accelerated. There are fortunately tools out there. So now we go to the more advertisement type speech, where we're going to talk a bit about VaultSpeed. VaultSpeed is the IDE that we in Grundfos have chosen to run with for building our Data Vault, because it gives us some nice flexibility. It is one graphical user interface where you can actually build your Data Vault based on sources available in a specific system. And having this available, this automation tools, gives us a certain scalability and robustness. It's easy to build processes around how do we want to model. We can relatively fast onboard new teams building new data concepts on the Data Vault. Furthermore, it makes it easy to actually model based on business concepts, because you don't tend to go in and say, oh, but this is named something in SAP, or this is named something in our MES system. You actually take a step away, start by building your model, and then do your source analysis. So you get a better cadence and natural flow on what data are you actually working with, what is the data of interest, by taking the step away from our source system. Furthermore, our Data Vault setup actually allows us to do more with our data governance setup with less work. Given that we are centering our Data Vault around our business concept, we can easily enforce governance on it. It becomes easy to say, okay, but our products and what they are containing of information, that is owned by our PLM part of the organization. We don't need to say, okay, but this table, these 5 columns belongs to PLM, these 5 columns belongs to finance, and these 5 to sales. Data Vault takes that complexity out of the equation. Again, accelerating and streamlining the way we can do governance, where we can focus our effort to make sure that we are obliged to the AI Act, to ensure that we are obliged to GDPR, so forth. So it gives us a flexibility there to work in a more streamlined fashion. And again, one of the other benefits of Data Vault is we can do a source analysis of any source and map it to an existing model. This allows us to work around some of the legislations that we need to when we talk stuff like China. So in a moment, we'll jump into an actual case of something being implemented in Grundfos. But when you hear about this case, think about where can stuff go wrong when we talk deploying a solution like this across different regions. But before we jump there, we'll talk a bit about automation, because as most of we don't have an infinite amount of developers. We don't have 10,000 people that we can say, okay, go build. See you in a year when you have made something awesome. Today, we are seeing that more and more teams are relatively small, agile teams that need to deliver something on a continuous basis. And again, this is where VaultSpeed help us. We are able to speed up development. We have a single team with 1 or 2 developers generating more than 260 tables and over 190 procedures in just a year, where every procedure is actually quite large. They are typically in the area of 150 and above lines of code, all generated through VaultSpeed, built in a couple of months, really. Then they spend time validating afterwards, but that's an entirely different story. That's, of course, going into the robustness part. And this ensures that, again, we can easily get to a reliable state. We can get to a state where we can make data available to the business, get the fast validation, get feedback. And furthermore, VaultSpeed, with their generation, they are ensuring that they are generating based on tested codes, which means that we can reduce our expectations towards the entire testing of what are we seeing. So we can focus on our integration tests and the validation that what we are actually producing is what's fit for the business case. And this fit for business case, I guess most of you working with data know that can be quite challenging. You would encounter this, oh, but this was not entirely what I needed. Great. The faster we can get to actually expose the data to the business side, the faster we can get this type of feedback, thereby accelerating our own data journey as a company and providing value to both Grundfos and the rest of the world. So let's talk a bit about the use case that I've brought today. One of the projects that we have had that is actually using Data Vault and has been pioneer on the entire working with Data Vault as a service has been our Project Night Sky. Project Night Sky is a new way of looking into the market for our industry division. So they are actually looking into the market on what industry projects are running around the world, trying to be better at engaging with customers as early as possible, even when they are in the planning of projects. And this is something where this in and of its own can be done outside Data Vault. Of course it can. Most things can. But what we are seeing with the notion of Data Vault is that we can actually go in, make the data available, and make it easy to build an existing report that can be used for decision making while hooking new data into it. So all we need to do when we introduce a new feature in this project is to figure out, is there any changes we want to the UI? That's it. So we can make it that simple to go from idea to actually seeing it in production. It is just a question of doing a source analysis, maybe update the UI. And this has actually meant that we have more than 468 daily users on this platform. Since the slide has been introduced, we have seen at least 20 new users being onboarded. And when this slide was created, the report that was used was amongst the top 6% used report in Grundfos, which says something. This is a report that is less than a year old. And it has a pretty good satisfaction as well. So it actually serves the business purpose. And it is something where we are seeing that we are actually starting to have realized sales based on. It's not something that's a rough indicator of where does the market go. No, we can actually take active action and do sales on it. I asked you all to consider what could go wrong with this case. And I hope most of you came to the conclusion that given that we are working on customer data, there is a risk with all of the data laws that we have around. GDPR is a thing. We can't take our data outside Europe. CCPA is a thing for US. We have similar laws for China and so forth. And again, most of these places also have different data sources. So they have data sources that is centered around their sphere of interest. For China, it would most likely be another data source than what we are using today. But that's fine. We can still deploy the same solution and just have to do one source analysis, and that's it. We're golden, we're up and running. We can deploy our data vault to a Chinese cloud if we wanted to, or to an American cloud, or whatever. And we can get it up and running in a matter of days. So we can build this entire solution again and make it available, make data come alive and start to be a driver for decisions. So this is a bit of the roadmap what we have where we want to start to use this data as well. So we are going from a very Power BI oriented where people are doing manual stuff on top of our data to starting to actually automate our decision making, make the data that we have available drive our sales processes, in general, our advertisement processes, so that we can target where we see that there is opportunities in the market without having to actually go and do stuff manually. And this is where we see that Data Vault actually gives us the scalability and reliability to easily scale out. When we talk cross countries, we can scale up. When we talk the different amount of sources being used for decision making, and we can provide business the data they need in the quality they need at the time they need.